It's the moment that changes everything. The flimsy parchment in your hand, the emerald green ink shimmering with promise. You board a scarlet train from a platform that shouldn't exist and cross a vast, dark lake in a boat that sails itself. And then you see it, Hogwarts, a castle of impossible beauty rising against the moonlight, its windows blazing with a warm, golden light. For the first time in your life, you feel it deep in your bones, the undeniable soul-deep certainty that you are finally, truly, home. And then the great hall doors swing open, and the dream shatters like cheap glass. That warm, golden light you saw from the outside? It's not welcoming. It's interrogating. It illuminates every flaw, every nervous twitch, every threadbare patch on your secondhand robes. This isn't a family dinner. It's an intake facility. The hundreds of students staring back at you aren't your new friends. They are a jury, a parole board, and a pack of territorial wolves all rolled into one, and you are fresh, unmarked meat thrown into their arena. The comforting hum of magic is drowned out by the deafening roar of your own anxiety. Welcome to your new life. Hope you like being judged. You see, you've been sold a lie. The lie isn't the magic. That part's real enough. The lie is that you, as an individual, matter. In reality, you are a resource to be categorized, a problem to be solved. You're about to be permanently branded and sorted into one of 4 competing corporate tribes, a social experiment that has been running with zero ethical oversight for 1,000 years. Your personality, your future friends, your enemies, your entire identity for the next 7 years, and likely the rest of your life, will be decided for you, right here, right now. And who is the arbiter of your fate? A wise, compassionate headmaster? A board of experienced child psychologists? Dream on. Your life is in the hands of a dusty, sentient piece of headwear with the emotional intelligence of a brick and 1,000 years of ingrained prejudice. And it's about to perform a live public reading of your deepest fears and insecurities. You're pushed forward in a stumbling line of terrified 11-year-olds. Your name is called. 1,000 pairs of eyes are glued to you as you walk the longest 10 yards of your life and sit on a rickety wooden stool. The sorting hat, smelling faintly of mildew and centuries of children's tears, is dropped over your head, plunging you into darkness. And then, a voice starts rummaging through your brain. It's not a gentle inquiry. It's a psychic audit, sifting through your memories, your half-formed thoughts, your secret shames, all while muttering its judgments directly into your skull. There's no privacy, no consent. It's the most invasive psychological exam imaginable, and it's being conducted by an opinionated antique. For a few agonizing moments, it weighs your every virtue and flaw. Are you brave enough, smart enough, ambitious enough? Or are you just the other one? The pressure is immense. This isn't a personality quiz from a teen magazine. This is a final, binding judgment. The hat doesn't care about your potential, your capacity for growth, or the fact that you're a literal child who barely knows himself. It sees a snapshot of your undeveloped mind and slaps a permanent label on it. Then it bellows its decision to the entire hall. Gryffindor, or Slytherin, or Hufflepuff, or Ravenclaw. It doesn't matter. The brand has been applied. The ink is dry. There are no exchanges or returns. Congratulations. Your entire social life is now on rails. You will sleep, eat, study, and celebrate with your housemates. They are your new, non-optional family. Your only family. Stepping outside this bubble isn't just discouraged, it's practically forbidden by a system of social gravity. The password to your common room, the location of your dinner table, the color of the scarf around your neck. Every detail of your life is now designed to reinforce one thing. You belong to the tribe. And everyone else? They are the competition, the rivals, the enemy. The school actively cultivates this division, pitting the houses against each other for meaningless points in a year-long, pointless competition. It's a perfect system for manufacturing prejudice and paranoia from day one. And what if the hat got it wrong? What if you're a gentle soul thrown into the snake pit of Slytherin, or a budding intellectual suffocating in the jock-filled halls of Gryffindor? Too bad. There's no appeals process, no transfer portal. You just have to endure it. For 7 years, you'll be trapped in an echo chamber that either demands you conform or relentlessly punishes you for failing to do so. You'll be a living contradiction, a daily reminder to your housemates that the sacred sorting hat might just be a senile piece of cloth that makes mistakes. And nobody likes to be reminded of that. Your life will be a constant low-grade performance, faking a personality that isn't yours just to survive. This system doesn't build character, it forges cliques. It creates an environment where your worth is measured not by who you are, but by the banner you unwillingly fly. The kid from Slytherin is automatically slimy. The Ravenclaw is a know-it-all. The Hufflepuff is a duffer. The Gryffindor is an arrogant hero wannabe. These aren't friendships. They're alliances of convenience, built on a foundation of shared colors and mutual suspicion of everyone else. You've just traded one kind of prison for another, except this one has magic, and the walls are invisible but 1,000 times stronger. But hey, at least you have a cozy, magical dorm room to retreat to after a long day of social anxiety, right? A warm, safe space to call your own? Oh, you sweet, naive child. If you think the psychological environment is bad, just wait until you experience the physical one. You're about to find out what medieval really feels like. That crackling fireplace in the common room? It's not a charming feature, it's the only feature. It is the one single source of heat in a cavernous stone room designed 1,000 years ago by wizards who clearly had no concept of central heating or insulation. If you're not one of the senior students, currently monopolizing the 10-foot radius of warmth around it, you are cold. Not just a little chilly. We're talking a deep, penetrating, bone-leaching cold that seeps from the very stones of the castle. Your dormitory is an icebox. You get one lumpy bed with a mattress that has the ergonomic design of a sack of potatoes, and one thin, scratchy blanket that smells faintly of damp wool and the ghost of every sweaty child who slept under it before you. You'll spend your nights shivering under it, watching your breath plume in the frigid air. But the cold is something you might eventually get used to. The stench, however, is a different challenge entirely. You are in a medieval castle, sharing a room with 4 other adolescents who have just discovered puberty. Now, let's talk about the plumbing, or rather the glorious lack of it. Before the 18th century, wizards didn't even bother with Muggle conveniences like toilets. They just relieved themselves wherever they stood and vanished the evidence. Let that sink in. Your basic sanitation is entirely dependent on your magical aptitude. Had a bad day in charms class? Can't quite get the wand movement right? Congratulations, you've just created a biohazard in the middle of the hallway. And even with the later addition of bathrooms, do you really think they retrofitted an entire 1,000-year-old castle with modern, functional pipes? Dream on. Most of your daily business involves a shared, drafty stone room with perpetually damp floors, and a ghost who moans from inside one of the stalls. Privacy is not a thing. Speaking of which, let's talk about your personal space. You don't have any. 0. None. You share a room with the same 4 people for 7 years. They know when you sleep, when you wake up, what you mutter in your dreams. They know your study habits, your nervous habits, your eating habits. Your only private property is a single wooden trunk at the foot of your bed, and you can bet someone's already figured out the unlocking charm for it. But the surveillance doesn't stop with your roommates. The portraits on the walls? They're not just decorations, they're sentient, gossiping spies who report everything they see. The ghosts? They don't knock. They drift through your walls at the most inconvenient times. You can't have a private conversation, a secret cry, or a moment of quiet reflection without a disembodied head or a painted aristocrat eavesdropping. Your dorm room isn't a sanctuary, it's a fishbowl. The common room isn't a cozy lounge. It's a loud, crowded, smoke-filled den where the same 20 people you're already sick of are constantly underfoot. It's a never-ending sleepover with people you didn't choose, in a place that's actively trying to freeze you to death, where the concept of a hot shower is a distant, mythical luxury. You have traded your boring, comfortable Muggle bedroom for a glorified, stone-walled prison cell with terrible amenities and zero privacy. This isn't a home. It's a human kennel with a magical paint job. But you're not here to be comfortable, are you? You're here to learn, to receive a world-class education that will arm you with the skills to conquer the magical world. Surely the quality of the curriculum makes up for the grim living conditions, right? Well, about that. You survived the social sorting and the medieval living conditions. So what's the reward? A first-rate education that will make it all worthwhile. Except the Hogwarts curriculum appears to have been designed by someone who believed that literacy, mathematics, and basic science were just passing fads. You will spend 7 years in this esteemed institution and never once learn algebra, write an essay longer than 12 inches of parchment, or study the fundamental laws of the universe you actually live in. You are being meticulously trained for a world without a functional economy, armed with skills that have zero application outside of a wizarding duel or a pub quiz. Congratulations! Your diploma is essentially a certificate of unemployability in 99% of the planet. Let's start with your core subjects. Potions, for example. In the non-magical world, this is called chemistry. It's taught in a controlled lab with safety goggles, ventilation hoods, and teachers who don't treat malpractice lawsuits as a competitive sport. In Hogwarts, you're in a dark, grimy dungeon, brewing volatile, explosive concoctions with ingredients like powdered bicorn horn and juice of a leech. Your textbook offers cryptic advice, and your teacher is a perpetually furious man who grades on a curve of pure, unadulterated favoritism and uses public humiliation as his primary teaching tool. One misplaced stir, one sneeze, and you're not getting a bad grade. You're getting a face full of shrinking solution or a trip to the infirmary with boils that spell out failure. Then there's herbology. Sounds harmless, right? A bit of magical gardening. It's actually a crash course in handling flora that is actively, maliciously trying to end you. You'll be wrestling with devil's snare that strangles the slow-witted, repotting mandrakes whose screams can render you unconscious, or worse, and trying to prune venomous tentaculas without getting, well, poisoned. There are no hazard signs, no proper protective gear beyond a pair of earmuffs. It's botany for adrenaline junkies, and your final exam is simply surviving the greenhouse. And what about care of magical creatures? A charming opportunity to interact with fantastic beasts. No, it's a series of practical lessons in why liability insurance was invented. Your very first class might involve a creature that's half eagle, half horse, and 100% capable of disemboweling you if you forget to bow. Later, you'll graduate to caring for blast-ended scroots, armored scorpion-lobster hybrids that shoot fire out of their rears and have an insatiable desire for violence. The course is taught by a gentle giant who thinks extremely dangerous is just another word for misunderstood. You're not learning animal husbandry, you're beta testing monsters for a wizarding world that has no animal control services. The entire curriculum is a chaotic blend of the wildly dangerous and the profoundly useless. You'll learn to turn a beetle into a button, but not how to balance a checkbook. You'll study the movements of planets to predict the future in divination, a subject even the other professors admit is complete nonsense. But you won't learn basic first aid. You'll memorize the dates of goblin rebellions, but remain blissfully ignorant of world history, geography, or how a simple light switch works. You are being systematically infantilized and isolated, your mind filled with arcane trivia while being stripped of any practical knowledge that might help you function, let alone thrive. This isn't an education. It's a 7-year-long magical boot camp designed to weed out the weak. The goal isn't to make you smart, it's to see if you can survive. But surely, with all these daily dangers, The school must have a robust system for health and safety, right? A protocol for keeping its student body, alive? Oh, that's funny. Let's talk about that. You might think that a school with a near 100% injury rate would have robust safety protocols. You would be adorably, catastrophically wrong. Hogwarts doesn't have a safety policy. It has a school motto that loosely translates to "poke the sleeping dragon." The entire castle is an architectural embodiment of a lawsuit waiting to happen. Your daily commute to class involves navigating a grand staircase that randomly changes its destination. It doesn't care if you're halfway up. One minute you're heading to the library, the next you're on a collision course with a fifth-floor landing that wasn't there a second ago. It's not charmingly whimsical. It's a blatant violation of every building code ever written, designed to maximize sprained ankles and tardiness. And the hazards aren't just structural. The school is proudly, openly haunted. But we're not talking about gentle, Casper-like ghosts. We're talking about Peeves, a malevolent poltergeist who exists for the sole purpose of causing chaos and physical harm. He drops water bombs, pulls out rugs from under your feet, and delights in unscrewing chandeliers over crowded hallways. He is a walking, flying, spectral menace. And the staff's official policy on him? Mild annoyance. They treat a creature that actively assaults students with the same weary resignation you'd reserve for a leaky faucet. There's no magical restraining order, no exorcism, just a vague hope he doesn't cause any permanent disfigurement today. Let's talk about the school grounds. You have a sprawling, beautiful landscape to explore. Except for that one giant, dark, terrifying forest on the edge of the property. The Forbidden Forest. It's forbidden right there in the name. It's teeming with giant spiders, aggressive centaurs, and who knows what other horrors. A responsible institution would build a 10-foot wall around it and post armed guards. What does Hogwarts do? They use it as a detention center. You were out of bed after hours, child. As punishment, you will now venture into the murder woods at night, with only our most clueless staff member for protection. Good luck. It's not a deterrent. It's a creative attempt at population control. And then there's the crowning jewel of Hogwarts's safety last culture. The annual life-threatening school-wide event. It's like a tradition. First year, a three-headed dog is guarding a philosophical superweapon in a third-floor corridor that's only forbidden to those who don't wish to die a very painful death. Second year, a giant basilisk is slithering through the pipes, petrifying students, with the faculty's best plan being, try not to look it in the eye. Fourth year, let's host the Triwizard Tournament, a historical death match so dangerous it was banned for centuries. But why not bring it back? What could possibly go wrong? It's not a school, it's a gladiatorial arena with homework. Madame Pomfrey, the school nurse, isn't a testament to the quality of magical healthcare. She is the single, overworked first responder at a perpetual mass casualty event. The fact that she can regrow bones overnight isn't a miracle, it's a necessity, because students are having their bones vanished, shattered, or broken on a weekly basis. She's not running a nurse's office, she's running a battlefield hospital. Any other institution with this track record would be shut down by a governing body with a shred of sense. But who is that governing body? Who are the adults supposedly in charge of this entire chaotic, dangerous enterprise? Oh, you're going to love this part. So who are the responsible adults overseeing this pedagogical death trap? Let's start at the top. The headmaster, Albus Dumbledore. You see him as a wise, twinkling-eyed grandfather figure. A benevolent genius. You need to recalibrate your perspective. He's not a headmaster. He's a grandmaster of chess, playing a game on a continental scale, and you, your friends, and your very life are nothing more than pawns. Expendable pawns. He sees all, knows all, and tells you absolutely nothing, preferring to guide you with cryptic, frustratingly vague hints while you stumble directly into mortal danger. For the greater good, he'll murmur, which is a fantastic way of saying, Your potential sacrifice is a price I'm willing to pay. He doesn't protect you. He cultivates you as a weapon, withholding crucial information and testing your loyalty at every turn. His school isn't a place of learning. It's his personal recruitment and training ground. And what about the teachers under his command? The people entrusted with your day-to-day education and well-being? It's a collection of the most unqualified, emotionally unstable, and outright abusive educators ever assembled. Your potions master is a bully who uses his position to torment children as a coping mechanism for his own tragic backstory. Your defense against the dark arts position is a revolving door of frauds, incompetence, and literal dark wizards. One year, your teacher is a gibbering coward. The next, he's secretly sharing a body with the most evil wizard of all time. This isn't a faculty, it's a lineup from a human resources nightmare. These people wouldn't pass a background check to work at a petting zoo, yet here they are, holding absolute power over you. Think you can complain? File a grievance? To whom? The chain of command begins and ends with people who either don't care, are part of the problem, or are Dumbledore himself. There is no independent counselor. There is no ombudsman. There's just a head of house who will likely tell you to be brave or be cunning and deal with it yourself. The system isn't broken. It was designed this way. It's a feudal structure where the lords of the castle, the professors, are untouchable, and you, the peasant student, have no rights. Your entire existence is at the mercy of their whims, their moods, and their glaring professional inadequacies. And watching over this entire circus of incompetence is the Ministry of Magic. You might imagine them as a capable, functioning government. That's adorable. The ministry is a bloated, bureaucratic nightmare, a monument to inefficiency and corruption. At their best, they are utterly useless, burying their heads in the sand and churning out pointless regulations. At their worst, they are actively malicious, sending soul-sucking wraiths to guard the school, interfering with the curriculum to push their political agenda, and refusing to believe in any threat that might cause them paperwork. They are not a safety net. They are an anchor, dragging the wizarding world down with their denial and their thirst for control. They don't care about your safety or your education. They care about appearances, power, and maintaining a status quo that benefits them. So you are trapped, governed by a manipulative headmaster, taught by damaged bullies, and regulated by a corrupt and incompetent government. There is no one to turn to, no one to trust. Every adult figure in your life is either using you, endangering you, or ignoring you. You are, for all intents and purposes, completely on your own. But don't worry, it's only for 7 years. After that, you graduate. You'll be free to leave this madhouse and enter the bright, shining, wizarding world as a fully fledged adult. And that's when you'll face the final, most crushing disappointment of all. You made it. 7 years of surviving shoddy infrastructure, a lethal curriculum, and guardians who couldn't care less. You have your diploma, a new T-score that isn't completely embarrassing, and a slight case of chronic anxiety. You stand at the gates of Hogwarts for the last time, ready to step into the vibrant, magical world you've been prepared for. Except you haven't been prepared for anything. You've been scammed. The wizarding world isn't a world, it's a village. A tiny, stagnant, deeply nepotistic village with the economic diversity of a shoebox. What career paths are open to you, the proud Hogwarts graduate? Let's do a quick rundown. You could work for the Ministry of Magic, the glorious pinnacle of bureaucratic soul-crushing we've already discussed. Spend your days stamping forms in a windowless basement, enforcing laws that make no sense, and slowly watching the spark of life fade from your eyes. Option 2. You could become a shopkeeper in Diagon Alley, selling bat spleens or self-stirring cauldrons to the next generation of suckers. It's a stable, if profoundly unexciting, life. Option 3. You could try to become a professional Quidditch player, a career with the shelf life of a carton of milk and a near certain outcome of permanent physical damage. That's pretty much it. The entire job market is about 3 professions deep. But what about other jobs, you ask? Aurors, healers, curse breakers? Oh, you sweet summer child. Those aren't jobs. They're clubs. Exclusive, elite clubs with an impossibly high barrier to entry. Do you have top marks in every single subject? Are you a once-in-a-generation prodigy? Do you have family connections? No? Then welcome to the club of the perpetually overlooked. You're not special anymore. You're just another face in a sea of identically robed graduates, all fighting for the same half-dozen respectable job openings that were probably filled before you even took your final exams. For everyone else, it's a one-way ticket to a life of quiet obscurity, brewing potions in your basement for a living. But the lack of opportunity is only half the problem. The other half is the society you're now a part of. The wizarding world you've entered is riddled with a prejudice so deep and so casually accepted, it makes your old house rivalries look like a playground squabble. The entire society is built on a toxic obsession with blood purity. Are your parents both magical? Great. One of them isn't? Well, you'll always be seen as slightly second class. Neither of them are. Congratulations. You're a mudblood, a slur used so casually it's practically a formal title. You are a walking, talking reminder of the other world, and a significant portion of the population, including many of your potential employers, will despise you for it. All that talk of bravery and wisdom at school meant nothing. The only thing that matters out here is your ancestry. You are utterly trapped. After 7 years of isolation, you are completely unprepared to function in the real, non-magical world. You can't do calculus. You don't know how to use a computer. And your entire resume consists of "can turn a hedgehog into a pincushion." You are an alien in the world you were born in, but you are equally an outcast in the world you were trained for, a world with no jobs, no social mobility, and a culture of ingrained bigotry. You've been educated into obsolescence. You fled a mundane life for a magical one, only to find yourself cornered with no future in either. The magical letter wasn't a golden ticket. It was a one-way street to a dead end. And as you stand there, diploma in hand, facing a future of crushing disappointment, you are left with one simple, soul-crushing thought. You should have stayed in the cupboard under the stairs. The first thing you learn is the sound of a door that will never open again. It is not the gentle click of a latch at home, but the groan of ancient, iron-strapped wood and the final echoing boom of a bolt sliding into place. That sound is the full stop at the end of your childhood. In the sudden, suffocating darkness of the cellar, the memory of your mother's face is already starting to fray at the edges, becoming just another ghost in a fortress full of them. You are one of a dozen boys, all smelling of fear, huddled together on the cold stone. None of you know what is coming. You only know what you have left behind. Everything. You were not asked if you wanted this. The choice was never yours to make. Perhaps you were a surprise, a debt of honor claimed by the law of surprise from a father you never knew. Perhaps you were the 5th son of a starving farmer, sold for a handful of coin and the promise of one less mouth to feed through the winter. It does not matter. The reasons are ash, scattered on the wind. What matters is that you are here, in Kaer Morhen, a place that does not build boys into men. It dismantles them. It takes the soft, pliable material of a child and sets about the brutal work of turning it into a weapon. The old men, the ones with eyes like cats and scars that tell stories older than your village, they do not see a child. They see potential. A piece of living ore to be thrown into the furnace, and the furnace is waiting. They call it the Trial of the Grasses, a name that sounds almost pastoral, like a walk in a summer meadow. The reality is a baptism in pure agony. You are strapped to a crude wooden bed, your limbs held fast by leather restraints. The concoction they bring is a thick, green-black liquid, smelling of rot and strange, bitter herbs. It is not something you are asked to drink. It is forced down your throat, burning a path to your stomach. Then, the fire begins. It is not a fire you can see, but a blaze that ignites inside your own veins. It feels as if your blood is boiling, turning to acid and devouring you from within. You scream until your throat is raw, but your screams are just part of a chorus, a symphony of childish terror echoing from the stone walls. Your body convulses, bones threatening to snap under the strain of muscles twisting into iron knots. This is not a trial to see if you are strong. It is a process to see if you will break. Most do. Their screams simply stop. For you, the fire just keeps burning. The fever lasts for days, or maybe it's weeks. Time dissolves into a hallucinatory soup of pain and fleeting, monstrous visions. But the pain is not random. It is purposeful. It is the feeling of your body being unmade and remade, cell by agonizing cell. Your immune system is annihilated. Your metabolism is violently accelerated. Your eyes, they burn with a white-hot light, as if someone has thrust twin pokers into your skull. This is the change. This is the poison rewriting your very essence, mutating you into something other. Something that can see in the dark, heal from wounds that would kill a man, and stomach the toxins you will one day call elixirs. You survive it, but the boy who was strapped to that table does not. He perishes in that fire, a silent casualty in your own war for survival. The thing that unstraps itself from the table is different. It is quieter, colder. When you are finally allowed to see your own reflection in a bucket of murky water, you do not recognize the face that stares back. The eyes are the most jarring. They are no longer the eyes of a boy. They are vertical, feline slits, glowing with a faint predatory light. They are the eyes of a hunter. Your hearing is now so sharp, you can hear the scuttling of a rat 2 floors above, the whisper of the wind through a keyhole. Every scent is magnified, a chaotic assault on your senses. This new body is not a gift. It is a cage of heightened alien sensations. You are a stranger in your own skin. The boys who survived with you, you see the same chilling stillness in them. The shared terror that once bonded you is gone, replaced by the silent, wary assessment of fellow predators. You are no longer children. You are experiments that did not fail. Your body was the anvil. The mutagens were the hammer. But the forging is not yet complete. Now you must learn what it means to be a sword. Leaving Kaer Morhen is not a graduation. There is no ceremony, no proud farewell. It is simply an unlocking of the gate. You step out into a world that feels impossibly loud, impossibly bright, impossibly alive. After the muted silence of the fortress, the cacophony of life, the birds, the wind, the distant shouts of men, is a physical assault. The air no longer smells of cold stone and sterile alchemy, but of wet, cloying mud and the promise of rain. You carry a sword on your back and a medallion on your chest. You think you are prepared. You are not. The trials forged your body. The world is now ready to forge your cynicism. Your first contract is not a glorious battle against a griffin soaring over mountain peaks. It is a squalid affair in a village whose name you will forget an hour after leaving. The problem is ghouls in the local graveyard, feasting on the recently departed. The alderman who hires you does so with a pinched nose, as if your very presence is a foul odor. He does not look you in the eye. No one does. The children who were playing in the dirt fall silent and scatter as you walk past, their mothers pulling them close. You are the cure, but they see you as a disease. The work itself is filthy. It is not a duel. It is extermination. You move through the desecrated graves under a slate-gray sky, the air thick with the stench of decay and damp earth. The ghouls are fast and feral, but predictable. Your swords move with an efficiency that feels alien even to you, a lethal dance you were programmed to perform. There is no honor in it, only the slick, wet sound of steel, parting flesh, and the sickly sweet smell of ghoul rot that clings to your clothes for days. The payment is the first betrayal. The alderman promised you 30 oren. When you return, hands and clothes stained with the proof of your work, he shoves a small, light pouch into your palm. You can feel without looking that it is barely half the agreed-upon price. His fear of the ghouls has vanished, and in its place is a raw, undisguised contempt for you. The villagers who once hid from you now stand behind him, their faces a mixture of relief and disgust. They needed a monster to kill their monsters, and now that the job is done, the tool is no longer required. You see the calculation in their eyes. You are an outcast, a mutant. Who would you complain to? What law protects your kind? You take the coins. Arguing will only lead to pitchforks and torches. This is the first and most important lesson the path teaches. Your protection ends the moment their fear does. This is how you learn the taste of poverty. It is the taste of thin stew in the back of a hostile tavern, eaten alone while whispers follow you like flies. It is the cold that seeps into your bones when you cannot afford a room and must sleep in a farmer's barn, or worse, a ditch by the side of the road. The handful of coins you earn is never enough. A new sword is a distant dream. A decent meal is a luxury. Most of your meager earnings go into the essentials, mending your leather armor, replacing a lost whetstone, buying the alchemical ingredients you need to simply stay alive. You learn to stitch your own wounds, to hunt for your own food when no contracts are available, to endure the gnawing emptiness in your gut as a constant companion. You are a legendary monster slayer, a figure of myth and terror. Yet you live with less security than the poorest farmer whose chickens you are hired to protect. You came out of Kaer Morhen a weapon, honed and sharpened. But the world teaches you the final, crucial lessons. It teaches you that a man's word is worth less than the mud on your boots. It teaches you that the glint of hatred in a human eye can be more dangerous than the glowing eyes of a beast. You learn to read the subtle signs of a lie, the shiftiness of a gaze, the way a hand tightens on a purse. You are a butcher of beasts, a necessary evil to be endured and then cast out. You are not their savior. You are their sanitation. You learn to read the stench of a lie as clearly as the tracks of a drowner. And this, you realize, is the true beginning of the hunt. The hunt does not begin with a drawn sword. It begins with a smell, a faint, wrong smell on the air, something like curdled milk and old blood, caught by senses that were burned into you. It begins with a footprint, too deep for a wolf, its claws arranged in a pattern that nature never intended. It begins in silence, kneeling in the mud, your fingers tracing the edge of that track. This is where your work truly lives, not in the clash of steel, but in the quiet, patient deconstruction of a threat. You are a detective of the unnatural, and the world is your crime scene. The villagers give you clumsy, fear-laced stories of a beast in the woods. You must translate their terror into facts. How many victims? Where were they taken? What was the weather? Every detail is a thread, and you must weave them together to see the shape of the thing you have to kill. The preparation is a ritual, a sacred and profane liturgy you perform alone. You do not rush into the beast's lair. You become its superior. In the dim light of a campfire or a cheap inn room, you lay out your tools. Vials of powders and dried herbs, strange liquors and monstrous organs harvested from previous hunts. Your hands, scarred and calloused, move with a surgeon's precision. You grind, you mix, you distill. The air grows thick with the acrid fumes of alchemy. You are brewing poison, and you are the one who will have to drink it. Each elixir is a specific answer to a specific threat. Cat, for the darkness of the cave. Swallow, to make your blood clot faster. Golden oriole, to walk through poison clouds unharmed. To the outside world, this is black magic. To you, it is simply chemistry. The methodical, unglamorous science of survival. Then comes the anointing of your blades. Your steel sword is for men and mundane beasts. It is a simple tool, reliable and sharp, But your silver sword, it is different. It is not merely a weapon, it is an extension of an ancient, sacred rule. It hums with a faint, cold energy against your palm. Silver is poison to the unnatural things that haunt the dark corners of the world. You coat the blade with oils brewed from monster parts, each formula a page from a bestiary written in blood. Necrophage oil for the ghouls, specter oil for the wraiths, draconid oil for the things that fall from the sky. The blade gleams with a slick, venomous sheen. It smells of death. It is beautiful. It is terrible. It is your ultimate argument in a debate with a creature that only understands violence. The confrontation, when it finally comes, is an explosion of controlled chaos. You have drunk the poisons. Your face is a deathly mask, veins standing out black against your pale skin. Your heart hammers at a speed that would kill a normal man. The world slows down, colors sharpening, sounds becoming crystal clear. This is the edge you paid for with your own health. The fight itself is not a swashbuckling epic. It is a brutal, intimate, and often clumsy dance. It is the jarring shock that runs up your arm as your blade meets unnaturally tough hide. It is the spray of hot, foul-smelling ichor that splatters across your face. It is the desperate roll in the dirt to avoid a scythed claw, the gasp for air as your lungs burn, the searing pain of a wound that even your accelerated healing cannot instantly close. You are not an invincible hero. You are a craftsman, applying your trade with desperate focus, knowing that a single mistake, a moment of hesitation, will be your last. After the final shuddering cry of the beast, there is only silence. A profound, ringing silence, broken by your own ragged breathing. You stand over the carcass, a grotesque sculpture of twisted flesh and bone. There is no triumph. There is only a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. The elixirs begin to recede, leaving behind a nauseous, aching hangover. You must now perform the final, grim task, the harvest. You need proof for your contract, and you need ingredients for the next one. With a knife, you get to work, cutting away a tongue, a claw, a patch of hide. Your hands are slick with gore. The stench is overwhelming. This is your victory. Not a cheering crowd, but a bloody, stinking trophy that you have to haul back to a village that will shrink away from the sight of you. You have cleaned the world of one more monster, but the filth of the work, you will never be able to wash it off your skin. The first time you drink swallow, you think it is a miracle. A deep gash in your arm, bleeding freely, begins to close before your very eyes. The skin knits itself together, the pain dulls to a distant throb. It feels like a gift from the gods, a denial of mortality itself. But there are no gifts on the path, only transactions, and the price for cheating death, even for a moment, is paid in installments over a lifetime. The elixirs that grant you superhuman speed, sight, and resilience are not allies. They are poison. A carefully calibrated, slow-acting poison that you willingly pour into your own body again and again. Each hunt is a new debt. You feel it in the aftermath, when the heightened senses of cat fade, leaving you with a splitting headache and eyes that feel scraped raw. You feel it after the fury of thunderbolt subsides, leaving your muscles trembling with a phantom exhaustion, your heart fluttering with a dangerous, irregular rhythm. These are not simple side effects. They are the echoes of a body pushed far beyond its natural limits. Your liver and kidneys, forced to process toxins that would fell an ox, begin to wear down, to scar. You learn the dull, persistent ache in your lower back, the metallic taste in your mouth that never quite goes away. The very potions that save you from a griffin's claws are silently, patiently, devouring you from the inside out. It is the ultimate paradox of your existence. To survive the monster, you must consume the poison that makes you more like it. It is not just the elixirs, the signs you wield, they too exact a toll. Ard is not just a gust of wind, it is a violent expulsion of your own vital energy, leaving you breathless and shaky. Igni is not just a spout of flame, It is a fire that sparks first within your own soul, leaving a feeling of being hollowed out, scorched from the inside. Quen, the shield that stops a blade, feels like a piece of your own fortitude has been chipped away to form the barrier. Each sign is a small piece of your life force, traded for a momentary advantage in a fight. You are a candle, and with every flick of your fingers, you willingly burn yourself down faster, casting a brief, violent light. The witchers who overuse them grow gaunt and pale, their eyes holding a permanent, weary distance, as if they are already looking into the void they so often command. And then there is the medallion. The wolf's head that rests against your chest is your constant companion, your early warning system. It hums with a low, insistent vibration in the presence of magic or monsters. It is a shield, a tool, a symbol of your brotherhood. But it is also a source of endless, low-grade anxiety. It is a physical manifestation of the fact that you are never safe. It thrums in crowded cities, reacting to a hidden illusionist or a cursed object. It vibrates in the supposedly peaceful wilderness, warning of a beast lurking just beyond the trees. It denies you any true rest, any moment where you can let your guard down completely. The silence of the medallion is the only peace you can know, and that silence is terrifyingly rare. It is a leash, a constant reminder of the unseen threats that fill your world, forever tethering you to a state of hypervigilance. You are a marvel of alchemical engineering, a body made resilient, a nervous system supercharged, a warrior capable of impossible feats, but you are also a failing machine. With every hunt, a little more of the poison settles in your bones. With every sign, a little more of your spirit is spent. Your hair, bleached white by the trauma of the trials, was only the beginning. You are a walking testament to the fact that power, true power, is never given freely. It is bought, paid for with your own vitality, one drop of blood, one shuddering breath, one moment of agonizing pain at a time. You are building a legacy of slain monsters, written on a ledger of your own decaying flesh. The most dangerous part of the path is not the monster's lair. It is the town gate. As you approach the cobbled streets and timber-framed houses, you feel it before you see it, a shift in the atmosphere. The hum of daily life, the chatter of merchants, the laughter of children, the ringing of a blacksmith's hammer, it all falters as you come into view. Conversations die in mid-sentence. A mother instinctively pulls her child behind her skirt. Heads turn, not in curiosity, but in a cold, uniform wave of suspicion and fear. This is the welcome you receive everywhere. You are the solution to a problem they cannot face, but your presence is a blight they cannot wait to be rid of. Entering a tavern is an exercise in public humiliation. The moment you push open the heavy wooden door, a hush falls over the room. The bard stops singing. The dice stop rolling. Every eye is on you. They are not looking at a man. They are looking at your swords. They are looking at your strange, cat-like eyes. They see a mutant, an unnatural thing that walks and talks like a man, but is fundamentally other. The innkeeper serves you with reluctance, placing your ale on the counter with a thud, his hand recoiling as if from a hot iron. You find a table in the darkest corner, alone, the space around you a self-imposed quarantine. The whispers start up again, just loud enough for your enhanced hearing to catch every venomous word. Freak, butcher, soulless, godless. You learn to drink with your back to the wall, always. Not just for monsters, but for the men who might get brave after their third pint. You are defined by your loneliness. You walk roads for weeks on end, your only companion, the steady rhythm of your own footsteps, and the creak of your leather armor. You make camp under the stars, the silence of the wilderness, a more honest companion than the hostility of a town. There are no friends on the path. The other witchers you meet are rivals as much as they are brothers, competing for the same scarce contracts. The sorceresses you encounter see you as a crude, but sometimes useful tool. The common folk, they are the ones you protect, and they are the ones who hate you most deeply for it. You learn that intimacy is a weakness, that affection is a liability. A kind word from a barmaid or a curious question from a stable boy is a rare, fleeting warmth in a world of bitter cold, but you cannot afford to hold on to it. To get close to someone is to paint a target on their back, or your own. This universal hatred grinds you down more than any beast. It is a slow, abrasive force, polishing away any softness you might have left. You learn to wear a mask of indifference, a stony facade that betrays no emotion. You develop a gruff, clipped way of speaking, because words are a currency you cannot afford to spend freely. Why explain the intricacies of a curse to a man who believes you are cursed yourself? Why show mercy when none will ever be shown to you? The constant rejection, the spittle that lands on your boot, the stones thrown by children who are only parroting their parents' hate. It all hardens you. It builds a wall around the small, human part of you that survived the trials, a fortress of cynicism to protect a fragile core. You are a ghost that walks in the daylight. People see you, but they do not see a person. They see a symbol of their own fears, a walking, talking reminder of the monsters that live in the dark. They pay you to face that darkness, but they will never, ever let you stand with them in the light. Your only reward is the clink of coin and the sight of their backs as you ride away. And with every town you leave behind, the wall around you gets a little higher, a little thicker. You remember the first monster you killed, a ghoul, mindless and ravenous, driven by a simple, profane hunger. The line was clear then. It was you, the protector, against it, the devourer. Good versus evil, written in the stark language of survival. But years on the path have a way of blurring that line until it is nothing but a faint gray smudge in the mud. You have stood in a swamp, knee-deep in filth, and slain a foglet that was only defending its territory. And then you have ridden into a town and accepted coin from a wealthy merchant who wanted a competitor to disappear, a man whose only crime was offering better prices. You did not take that contract, but the offer itself left a stain. The bestiary in your head, the one filled with neckers and griffins and wyverns, it starts to get new entries. The jealous husband who frames his wife for witchcraft. The village elder who sacrifices travelers to a local beast to ensure a good harvest. The greedy baron who starves his people and calls you to deal with the bandits who are just desperate farmers stealing bread. These are the monsters your silver sword cannot touch. Their evil is a more insidious kind, a rot that hides behind polite words and sacks of coin. And you, the monster hunter, are their perfect tool. They hire you to clean up the bloody consequences of their own cruelty, to cut away the symptom while the disease festers in their hearts. You start to see the patterns. The kikimora plaguing the mill is just an excuse for the miller to get rid of his rival. The curse on the well was poison, placed there by a man trying to drive his neighbor from the land. You become a connoisseur of human ugliness. You learn that the creature with dripping fangs and razor claws is often more honest in its malice than the smiling human who offers you the job. The beast kills because it is its nature. Man kills for sport, for greed, for power. The monster is predictable. The human is not. And this realization plants a seed of weariness in your soul that is deeper and more chilling than any fear you have felt in a dark crypt. This is the quiet corrosion. With every lie you uncover, every betrayal you witness, a piece of you calcifies. The world is no longer black and white. It is an endless, swirling vortex of gray. You start to question your purpose. Are you making the world a safer place? Or are you just a janitor, mopping up the filth in a house that is rotten to its foundations? The neutrality you were taught in Kaer Morhen, the ironclad rule of not getting involved, becomes less a noble code and more a desperate shield. To not get involved is to not have to choose between two evils. It is an attempt to preserve what little of your own humanity remains untainted. But sometimes, there is no choice. Sometimes you have to draw your sword, and you are not sure who the real monster is until one of you is bleeding on the ground. The faces of the men and women you have killed start to visit you in your sleep. Not the beasts, they are just shapes of instinct and violence. But the humans, the bandits in the forest, the guards who were just following orders, the desperate souls you cut down because they were on the wrong side of a contract. Their faces are not monstrous. They are plain, frightened, angry. They are human. And as you get older, their ghosts become heavier than the two swords on your back. Your body is a map of scars from the claws of beasts, but your soul is a tapestry of wounds left by the choices of men. There comes a morning when you wake up and the ache in your bones is no longer just a memory of yesterday's fight. It is a permanent resident. It is the first thing you feel when you open your eyes, a dull, grinding chorus of every injury you have ever sustained, every potion that has ever scoured your insides. Your movements, once a blur of deadly grace, are now a fraction slower. The roll to evade a blow is a little stiffer. The sword feels heavier in your hand. You are still faster, stronger, and tougher than any normal man. But you are not the weapon you once were. The relentless years of poison and punishment have begun to claim their final payment. The world does not slow down for you. The monsters are just as fast, just as savage. The contracts are just as demanding. But now, there is a new element in every hunt: doubt. A flicker of hesitation before you leap. A moment's miscalculation of distance, a breath you cannot quite catch. On the path, a single moment is the difference between a successful hunt and a bloody end. You start taking easier contracts, drowners, ghouls, the kind of work you did as a raw youth fresh out of the fortress. But there is no dignity in it. It is a quiet admission of your own decay, a retreat from the legendary beasts you once hunted with grim confidence. The coin is less, the danger still present, and the whispers in the towns have a new edge to them: pity. You see the end in the eyes of other, older witchers you cross paths with, if they live that long. You see it in the tremor in their hands, the haunted, far-off look that has replaced the predatory focus. They talk of one last contract, a nest to clear, a final beast to slay before they retire. But there is no retirement for your kind. There is no quiet cottage where you can hang your swords above the fireplace. Where would you go? What life would you lead? You are a purpose-built tool, and a tool without a purpose is just a piece of scrap metal. The path is all you have ever known. To leave it is to die, and to stay on it is to die. The only choice you have is the manner of your ending, and so it comes. Maybe it is a griffin, its beak striking faster than your aging eyes can track. Maybe it is a pack of ghouls, their sheer numbers finally overwhelming your waning stamina. Or maybe, most ignominiously, it is a simple fall from a cliff, a broken leg in the middle of a desolate forest, where you are left to the slow mercy of the cold and the wolves. Or perhaps it is simply in a barn, alone, when the poisons in your veins finally win their long war and your heart, strained by 1,000 elixirs, simply gives out. There is no one there to witness it, no one to hold your hand or say a final word. Your last breath is a quiet, lonely rattle, lost in the vast indifference of the world. Your body lies where it falls. No one comes looking for you. The villagers you saved last week have already forgotten your name. The world you dedicated your life to cleaning does not notice your absence. Your legacy is not in the songs of bards or the monuments of kings. Your legacy is a negative space. It is the child who was not snatched from their bed. It is the traveler who completed their journey unharmed. It is the quiet graveyard that was not desecrated. It is the silence where a monster's roar used to be. You are the forgotten guardian, the anonymous sacrifice. Your reward for a lifetime of filth, poverty, and hatred is an unmarked grave, a patch of dirt by the side of a lonely road that no one will ever visit. You are finally at peace, and no one will ever know you earned it. What does an economy reveal about the soul of a people? We often think of it in terms of numbers and resources, of supply and demand, of gold coins and bushels of wheat. But this is merely the surface, the visible current of a much deeper river. An economy, in its truest sense, is a physical manifestation of a society's core philosophy. It is the framework built from their deepest fears, their most profound hopes, and their unique relationship with the passage of time itself. In the world of Middle-earth, this truth is etched into the very landscape. The economic ideologies of its great races are not matters of policy, but of spirit. They are born from the fundamental nature of their being, from the weight of immortality, the sting of a fleeting life, or the unyielding call of the mountain's heart. To understand how they trade, build, and create is to understand what they believe, what they love, and what they are willing to lose. So we ask a question that seems provocative, yet is deeply philosophical. Why might the perfect, serene existence of the elves be considered a form of profound boredom? And why might the unparalleled industry of the dwarves, for all its splendor, be seen as an exercise in cosmic pointlessness? The answer lies not in their ledgers, but in their souls. It is a story of how the very gift of one's nature can become its most beautiful and most inescapable prison. What is the purpose of labor in a world without need? When one possesses an infinite expanse of days, and the very forest provides sustenance without toil, the human concept of an economy, driven by scarcity and survival, dissolves into mist. This is the realm of the elves, and their economy is not one of production, but of preservation. It is a system built not to create a future, but to desperately hold on to a fading past. The first and most crucial element of the elven worldview is their relationship with time. For mortals, time is the ultimate scarce resource, the engine of all ambition and urgency. For the elves, time is an endless ocean, and they are condemned to watch every beautiful thing on its shores be worn away by the tide. Their great enemy is not poverty or hunger, but decay. The world, in their eyes, is in a state of a long defeat, a slow, inevitable decline from a more glorious age. Consequently, their entire economic and creative output is a defense against this entropy. They do not innovate for the sake of progress. They perfect for the sake of permanence. Their goal is not to invent something new, but to create an object so flawless, so imbued with grace and memory, that it might for a moment defy the relentless march of time. This philosophy shapes the very nature of their craft. An elven smith does not forge a blade simply to be a superior weapon. He forges it to be a perfect memory of the concept of a blade, a song of steel that echoes the valor of ages past. When they weave cloth, they seek to capture the light of a specific twilight. When they bake lembas, they are not merely creating food. They are distilling the essence of the land's vitality into a form that resists spoilage, a physical bulwark against corruption. This is an economy of artistry, but it is one that looks perpetually backward. There is no drive for efficiency, for mass production, for the churning engine of change that defines human markets. There is only the pursuit of a static, unattainable perfection, a beautiful prison, where the greatest creation is but a shadow of a memory. This leads to a society that functions less on trade and more on the principle of the gift. In a world where material need is largely absent, the accumulation of wealth becomes a vulgar, almost meaningless concept. Value is not stored in chests of gold, but in the act of giving and the relationship it represents. Galadriel does not sell her phial to Frodo, nor does she barter the cloaks and boats she provides the Fellowship. These are gifts, acts that bind individuals and strengthen communities. This system is elegant and noble, but it is also inherently static. A gift economy thrives on stability and established relationships, not on dynamic growth or interaction with outsiders. It is the circulatory system of a closed, unchanging society, one that has everything it needs and desires only that which it is destined to lose, the world itself. The elven economy, then, is a grand and sorrowful paradox. It is a post-scarcity society that is haunted by the ultimate scarcity, the loss of magic and memory. Their creations are breathtaking, their way of life serene. Yet, it is an existence without stakes, a culture polished to such a high sheen that there is no room for the grit of true invention or the desperate gambles of progress. It is a long, slow, beautiful twilight. And while the elves gazed at the fading stars, seeking to preserve their light in jewel and song, another ancient race turned their eyes downward into the dark heart of the earth. They were driven by a very different kind of hunger, one not for ethereal memory, but for tangible, unyielding substance itself. If the elven spirit seeks to preserve the ephemeral, the dwarven soul yearns to master the eternal. To understand the dwarves is to understand their relationship with stone, metal, and all things found in the deep places of the earth. Their economy is not a gentle act of remembering. It is a fierce, percussive act of dominion. It is the sound of 1,000 hammers striking in unison, a rhythm that seeks not to harmonize with the world, but to subdue it, to carve its own indelible signature into the very bones of the mountains. The foundational principle of the dwarven economy is the belief that true value is tangible. For them, an idea, a memory, or a song is fleeting, but a bar of gold is a fact. A vein of mithril is a truth. Their entire civilization is built upon this materialist philosophy. They do not merely build cities, they excavate them, imposing a geometric, deliberate order upon the raw chaos of the underworld. This act of subduing nature is central to their identity. Where an elf sees a living forest to be stewarded, a dwarf sees a mountain filled with dormant potential, a treasure chest waiting to be unlocked by skill, sweat, and sheer force of will. Their labor is a war against the stubbornness of matter, and every jewel wrested from the rock is a victory. This worldview elevates the craftsman to the highest station. A master smith, or mason in a dwarven hold, is a figure of immense prestige, for their skill is the engine of the entire society. Yet, their craft differs profoundly from that of the elves. Elven craft is about capturing beauty. Dwarven craft is about revealing and enhancing inherent worth. They do not seek to make a thing beautiful so much as to make it more itself. They polish a gem to reveal its inner fire, forge an axe to maximize its heft and sharpness, and build a gate so strong it feels like a natural extension of the mountain's own defiance. This leads to marvels of engineering and artistry, creating objects of unparalleled durability and function. But it is a process focused entirely on the material, a relentless refinement of the physical that often neglects the spiritual. Herein lies the seed of the dwarven tragedy, the dragon sickness. Their philosophy, which begins as a noble appreciation for substance and hard work, has a built-in vulnerability to greed. Because value is seen as finite and tangible, it can be hoarded. The desire to master the earth can curdle into a desire to possess it. Gold ceases to be a medium of exchange or a raw material for creation. It becomes an end in itself. The great halls of Khazad-dûm, filled with unimaginable riches, were not just a treasury. They were a mausoleum of wealth. Gold piled up not for use, but for the sheer sake of having it. This obsession becomes a spiritual ailment, isolating them from other races and even from each other, breeding suspicion and a jealousy that is as hard and unyielding as the gems they covet. It is a grand, glittering pointlessness, an endless cycle of digging, crafting, and hoarding that produces immense wealth, but little true joy or connection. The dwarven economy is thus a monument to magnificent, tragic obsession. It is a system capable of creating wonders that can last until the breaking of the world, a testament to what sheer industry and focus can achieve. But it is an economy of the fist, not the open hand. It is born of a desire to conquer and hold, and in its success, it risks becoming its own prison, a golden cage where the spirit suffocates under the weight of its own treasures. But between the elves' static memory and the dwarves' earthy materialism, a third race emerged, defined not by eternity or substance, but by the fire of a fleeting life. Theirs was an economy driven by a force entirely alien to both elves and dwarves: ambition. In the grand tapestry of Middle-earth, the thread of humanity is uniquely vibrant and dangerously frayed. Men are defined by what the elves call the gift of men, a gift that is also their greatest curse: mortality. Unlike the eternal elves or the long-lived dwarves, a man's time is a burning candle, casting a brilliant light, but destined to be consumed. This single existential fact is the furnace that forges their entire economic philosophy. Theirs is an economy not of stasis or obsession, but of frantic, desperate, and glorious ambition. The driving force behind the economy of men is the future. An elf looks to the past. A dwarf looks to the earth beneath their feet. But a man is always looking towards the horizon, towards the legacy they will leave, the children who will inherit their name, and the kingdom they can build before their light is extinguished. This urgency creates a dynamism utterly alien to the other elder races. While an elven artisan might spend a century perfecting a single poem, a human merchant must build their fortune within a few short decades. This pressure breeds innovation out of necessity. They develop faster ships, more efficient farming techniques, and complex systems of trade and finance, not necessarily because they are more clever, but because they simply do not have the time for perfection. Their motto is not flawless, but functional. This makes their societies volatile and ever-changing, capable of rising to astonishing heights and collapsing into ruin within a few generations. This ambition manifests in two distinct economic expressions: trade and tribute. In their best moments, men are the great connectors of Middle-earth. The seafaring kingdoms of Gondor and before it, Numenor, built their power on vast trade networks. They were the intermediaries, the innovators who dared to sail where others would not, linking the economies of disparate peoples. Their markets are chaotic, vibrant places of exchange, driven by profit, risk, and the desire for social mobility. A commoner could, through wit and daring, become a wealthy merchant. Such a concept is almost nonsensical in the rigid, hierarchical societies of elves or dwarves. This pursuit of personal gain, while often seen as crass by the elder races, is also the engine of progress, spreading ideas and goods across the continent. However, the same ambition that fuels trade can just as easily curdle into a lust for conquest. If trade is the acquisition of wealth through mutual consent, tribute is its acquisition through force. The dark side of human ambition is the desire not just to build, but to dominate. Kingdoms like those of the Haradrim, or the Easterlings, and even Numenor in its decline, turned their economic might into a military one. Their economy became an extension of their armies, demanding resources, slaves, and fealty from those they conquered. This is the ultimate expression of mortal impatience. Why trade for what you can simply take? This duality defines the human condition. The same drive that creates a thriving port city like Pelargir can also power the war machines that seek to burn it to the ground. Their economies are a paradox of creation and destruction, forever caught between their better angels and their deepest, most rapacious instincts. The economy of men is therefore the most complex and relatable of all. It is the story of ourselves, a chronicle of striving against the dying of the light. It is neither boring nor pointless, but it is fraught with peril. A double-edged sword that can build empires or grind them into dust. Their mortality makes them the most creative and the most destructive force in Middle-earth. Their ambitions a fire that can either warm the world or consume it entirely. Yet, in the quiet, rolling hills of the Shire, another people offered a radical alternative to this grand, chaotic drama. They proposed an economy built not on memory, materialism, or ambition, but on a principle the great races had long forgotten: contentment. Away from the ageless sorrow of the elves, the grasping industry of the dwarves, and the restless ambition of men, there exists another way, It is an economic philosophy so simple, so profoundly unassuming, that the great and the wise of Middle-earth scarcely noticed it until it stood at the very precipice of history. This is the world of the hobbits, and their economy is a quiet rebellion against the very definitions of wealth and power. It is an economy of contentment, built not on growth or acquisition, but on the radical idea of having enough. The foundation of the hobbit economy is the land itself, but their relationship with it is unique. They are not preservationists, like the elves, seeking to freeze a perfect moment in time. Nor are they masters like the dwarves, seeking to subdue and extract value. They are gardeners. A gardener does not seek to conquer the earth or merely to look at it. A gardener collaborates with it. The entire Shire is a testament to this philosophy, a patchwork of small, lovingly tended farms, gardens, and orchards. Theirs is an agrarianism that is not just a means of production, but a way of life. They value well-tilled soil, a bountiful harvest, and a well-stocked larder above all things. This focus creates a society of profound resilience, one that can feed itself and sustain its gentle rhythms without reliance on sprawling trade networks or grand industry. This philosophy of sufficiency directly shapes their concept of wealth. For a hobbit, wealth is not a hoard of gold or a collection of magical artifacts. Wealth is a full pantry, a warm hearth, good pipeweed, and the time to enjoy them with friends and family. This redefines value entirely. The most precious commodity in the Shire is not a physical object, but social capital. The giving of gifts, especially of food and drink, is the primary economic activity. A hobbit's status is not measured by what they own, but by what they give away. The mathams, the useless presents that are endlessly circulated, are a perfect symbol of their economy. The act of giving is more important than the object being given. This creates a powerful social fabric, a web of mutual obligation and genuine affection that is stronger than any fortress wall. Consequently, the hobbits have a built-in immunity to the primary corrupting forces that plague the other races. The elves are paralyzed by their past. Hobbits are grounded in the present moment, in the simple joy of a good meal or a fine afternoon. The dwarves are consumed by a lust for more. Hobbits are defined by their profound lack of avarice. The ambitions of men lead them to dominate others. The highest ambition of a hobbit is to maintain a respectable garden and be known for their generosity. They have deliberately, if unconsciously, rejected greatness and all the perils that come with it. Their isolationism is not born of arrogance, like that of the elves, or suspicion, like that of the dwarves, but from a genuine lack of interest in the grand, troubled affairs of the outside world. Why would one seek a king's ransom when one already has a perfectly good mushroom patch? The hobbit economy, therefore, is not an undeveloped or primitive system. It is a highly sophisticated ideology of deliberate limitation. It is a conscious choice to prioritize community over capital, contentment over conquest, and simple pleasure over abstract power. It is a quiet wisdom that offers a profound critique of the other race's grand follies. They have built a world that, for the most part, has no need for heroes, kings, or epic sagas, because they have focused on creating a society where such things are, thankfully, unnecessary. But to truly understand the light of these varied economies, from the serene to the industrious to the content, we must also examine the shadow that seeks to devour them all. For in the land of Mordor, there exists not an economy, but an anti-economy, a system that serves as a dark mirror to all we have seen. In every system we have examined, from the serene craft of elves to the humble gardening of hobbits, there lies a core principle of creation. Whether for memory, for wealth, or for sustenance, their labor is additive. It seeks to build, to shape, to grow. But in the barren, ash-choked plains of Mordor, we find the chilling inversion of this impulse. The economy of Sauron is not a system of creation at all. It is a philosophy of pure, relentless consumption. It is the anti-economy, a vast and terrible engine designed not to build a world, but to unmake it. The foundational principle of Mordor's system is absolute centralized control for a single purpose: war. Where the economies of other races evolved organically from their culture and environment, Mordor's was imposed from the top down by a single malevolent will. There are no independent craftsmen, no merchants, and no farmers stewarding their land. There are only masters and slaves, cogs in a colossal machine. The orc is the ultimate proletarian, stripped of all individuality, their labor valued only for its output in weapons and war materiel. The land itself is treated with the same brutalist utility. Forests are not managed, they are clear-cut for fuel. Rivers are not cherished, they are polluted with industrial waste. The earth is not mined with skill and reverence, it is torn open, its resources ripped from it to feed the ceaseless hunger of the forges. This philosophy manifests as industry without art, production without soul. A dwarven axe, for all its grim purpose, possesses a lineage of craft, a certain pride in its perfect balance and durability. An orcish scimitar, by contrast, is a crude, disposable tool, churned out with brutal efficiency. It is meant to serve its function and be discarded. The great works of Mordor, the fortress of Barad-dûr, the armories, the siege engines, are marvels of logistics and engineering, but they possess no beauty, no grace, no spirit. They are monuments to function over form, power over meaning. This is the ultimate expression of materialism, stripped of even the dwarves' aesthetic appreciation. It is a worldview that sees every mountain, every tree, and every living being not as a thing in itself, but as raw material, as fuel, for its own nihilistic ambition. Sauron's system is, in essence, the economy of a parasite. It cannot create its own sustenance. It can only drain it from others. Its power grows by diminishing the world around it. The Shire produces food, Rivendell produces art, Khazad-dûm produces treasures. Mordor produces nothing but fear, and the tools to spread it. Its entire existence is predicated on the conquest and consumption of the productive, vibrant economies that surround it. This makes it a system of ultimate pointlessness. The dwarves' hoarding may be a spiritual dead end, but at least it leaves behind marvels of craft. Sauron's conquest leaves only ash, ruin, and a silence where life used to be. It is a system that, if left to run its course, would eventually consume the entire world and, having nothing left to feed on, finally consume itself. The anti-economy of the Shadow serves as the perfect dark mirror. It takes the dwarves' materialism and strips it of its artistry. It takes the ambition of men and strips it of its potential for legacy and creation. It takes the centralized order of a single society and twists it into absolute tyranny. It is the logical conclusion of an economy utterly divorced from spirit, from nature, and from any value beyond the acquisition of raw power. It is a vision of the world as nothing more than a resource to be burned. And so, as we pull back from the choking fumes of Mordor, we are left to gaze upon the full mosaic of Middle-earth's soul, to weigh the quiet garden against the echoing vault, and the eternal memory against the fleeting, fiery ambition. In the end, the chronicle of a people is written not in ink, but in the choices they make, what they value, what they build, and what they are willing to sacrifice. The economies of Middle-earth are far more than systems of exchange. They are the physical embodiment of each race's answer to the fundamental questions of existence. They are a grand, intricate tapestry woven from the threads of time, spirit, and matter. We have seen the elves, the eternal preservationists, trapped in the beautiful, sorrowful amber of their own past. Theirs is a world of exquisite art, but no true novelty. A serene existence where the fear of loss has extinguished the spark of becoming. They are custodians of a fading world, and their economy is a long, elegant eulogy for what once was. It is a life of profound beauty, yet one that shies away from the chaotic, messy, and vital dance of creation itself. We have delved into the mountain halls of the dwarves, the ultimate materialists whose hands can shape the very substance of the earth into marvels of enduring craft. Yet, their gaze is fixed so firmly downward that they risk losing sight of the stars. Their relentless pursuit of the tangible becomes an obsession, a dragon sickness of the soul that equates worth with weight and value with possession. Their economy is a testament to magnificent industry, but one that walks a knife's edge between mastery and a glorious, glittering pointlessness. We have walked with the race of men, the children of mortality, whose fleeting lives are a fire that fuels both breathtaking ambition and terrible destruction. They are the great movers and shakers, their economies a whirlwind of trade, innovation, conquest, and collapse. Driven by the urgent need to leave a mark on a world they must soon depart, they are the agents of change, a force of nature as likely to build a shining city as to burn one to the ground. And we have rested in the quiet green hills of the hobbits, the masters of contentment, who found wisdom not in greatness, but in smallness. They built their world around the radical notion of enough, prioritizing the warmth of community over the cold gleam of gold. In their gardens and pantries, they crafted a society that offered a profound, unspoken critique of the grand tragedies playing out beyond their borders, a quiet testament to the strength found in simplicity. Each philosophy, from the elven memory to the dwarven forge, from human ambition to hobbit contentment, reveals a partial truth. Together they form a complete, complex ecosystem of ideas. The dark shadow of Mordor, the anti-economy of pure consumption, serves only to sharpen this perspective, reminding us that the ultimate measure of a society is not what it can take, but what it chooses to create. The story of Middle-earth's economies is, in the end, a story about the soul. It suggests that the healthiest world is not one dominated by a single, correct ideology, but one that finds a delicate and often precarious balance between them all. A balance between preserving the past, mastering the present, and building a future worthy of the life that fuels it.